Knowing where your sales and leads are really coming from, that is absolutely key if you're looking to seriously grow online. Now, the reality is for most businesses, they only have a relatively small number of places where they get their sales and their leads. And something that we use here at Evergreen is an acronym called BEAR. I'm going to break down exactly what BEAR is, why we use it, and how we use it, so you can take those ideas and deploy them into your business to seriously gain some clarity and to grow online. Right, so let's get the whiteboard. So the BEAR acronym, you may be wondering, what on earth is that? I'll break it down here. So the BEAR stands for brand, email, ads, and referral. Now, the reason we use this is because most businesses, whether you're e-commerce, whether you are a bricks and mortar business, most businesses will have lots of different channels. Some are all very reliant on ads. Others, it's all about email marketing. Some play into their brand visibility. Others, maybe it's organic, it's your content marketing. There's lots of different channels. There's lots of noise. There's lots of things you could and should be doing. What we have found for most businesses is when you understand how your brand stacks up across these 4 pillars, core components, call them what you will, you get a real clarity. And something that I know from experience is when I talk to many business owners and prospective clients, this is one of the very first conversations I have with them, is I say, look, you want to grow, great, you're a £2 million business now and you want to get to a £3 million business or whatever it might be, that's fine. But do you understand your reliance? Do you know where your sales and leads are coming from? And often it's either they don't know, or it's, oh, we know we're heavily reliant on ads, or oh, email is absolutely vital for us, or oh, we've got great brand affinity and everyone searches for us and buys our product through the brand and through our brand awareness. But then there's a lot of people that don't know. And so one of the things that I task every prospective client we work with, or we potentially work with, and every conversation I have is I say, look, let's use the BEAR acronym, which will help simplify things. Because I say what we need to understand is what role is brand playing in our business right now. And that, what I mean by that is, as a business, whether you're product, service, whether you are e-commerce or you're, as I say, bricks and mortar, what we need to understand is, what are you known for? And how prominent is your brand, and what role is your brand playing in your visibility? I always say you need to be famous to a few. So if you're a local business that operates within a very specific area, then for you, your brand needs to be famous for what you sell, product or service, and where you do it. So this is our product, this is our business, this is who we are, what we do, and this is where we do it. If you're an e-commerce business, then the where you do it is less relevant. So then it becomes, this is what we do, product or service, this is what we sell, and this is who we sell it to. People like you. We sell this product to this type of person. That is our target customer. So it's the what and where, or the what and who. And understanding that, and then looking at the data to define for the brand side of things, how prominent and how many people search for our brand, the sales and the leads that we're getting into our business, what role is that playing? Understanding that, and for some businesses, brand is everything. Brand is super important and we need to know that. Others, less so. The E is for email, an absolute vital channel. And again, when I talk to prospective clients, I have some that will say to me, email is making up a third or more of our sales and our leads. We send emails regularly. We're quite sophisticated with what we do. We segment the data. Email's playing a great role. I say, fantastic. But other times, less so. And email is not being used at all, or it's just once in a blue moon, and it's a missed opportunity. So email is a vitally important role. Then you've got our wheelhouse, which is ads. Ads is another really important channel. A lot of businesses are reliant on ads. In my mind, too reliant on ads. And what you'll see we do here is we group all of the ads. So whether it's paid search ads, so your Google, your Bing, your YouTube, or if it's meta ads, we put all ads together. For this exercise, we put all ads together. Then the last one is, if I can spell, is referral, and recommendation. It's kind of an everything else category. Recommendation, that's not spelt right, but we'll go with it. Recommendation. And so the R is, we all like word of mouth, we all like recommendations, we all like referrals, and for lots of businesses, that is absolutely key. You can also put your organic stuff in there, because I find organic plays a relatively small role for most businesses. But what we like to do with this is understanding this, so understanding what role does brand play, what role does email play, what role does ads play, and then this referral and recommendation. Understanding that, and it's not, we don't have to be exact. We're not trying to get this to be exactly so we can pinpoint every pound and so on. But when we look at our data, and marketing is all about data, when we look at our data, what we need to understand is, as a business right now, let's say we're turning a couple of £1 million turnover. We need to understand, right, proportionally, just how important are the middle two, right? We need to understand all of them, but particularly these two, because when we're thinking about growth, we're looking, can we adjust the dial when it comes to brand? Not really, unless we're gonna do a big PR campaign and just, take a long-term view. This is very, very difficult to do for lots of businesses. It's an organic thing. It will grow over time. You've built your brand over a number of years. That will keep going. Lovely. Same with referral recommendation. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just get everyone to refer us tomorrow? The trouble is that, again, is very organic. So in terms of thinking about growth, we really have two primary levers that we can focus on: email and ads. So again, what we then like to understand is, okay, well, what role are ads playing? And I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll go through an example. Let me scrub this off, but brand, email, ads, and referral. Let me get rid of this and I'll give you an example to bring this to life. It's a very simple concept, and it's one that we find works, and I'm a big believer in the KISS analogy, which is keep it simple, stupid. And I think this BEAR acronym is a really nice way to think about that. So let's say, hypothetically, we have got we're an e-commerce business and we are turning £1 million, right? So we're a 1 million turnover business today. And let's say that this brand says, right, we want to double in size. I say, right, great. Okay, so the target, we want to get to a 2 million turnover, say in the next 2 years, right? That's pretty much a standard sort of conversation that I would have. So if that's the case, the first question I want to understand is, I say, great, we're £1 million turnover now. Where are we in terms of our reliance? And whether they know or not. But let's say in this scenario, we've got a business that when we look at the data, we can see that of that £1 million, we can see, that ads are playing. So this is a business that, from an ads perspective, half of their leads, their sales, are coming in through ads. So they are 50% reliant on their ads. And with that, you can figure this stuff out relatively quickly, but that for me is really key to know. So they're 50% reliant on ads. Let's say that then say we look at the numbers, and according to attribution, we can see that email is maybe making up, 25%. All right, so we can sort of roughly, and it's not going to be exact. We're not trying to get exact, but we want to see where we're weighted. Then if we look at, say, brand, we look at that and we say, well, it's hard to judge exactly because it always is, but probably 10%, gut feel, there's always an element of that. Looks in, we go, yeah, about 10%, we get returning customers, people that buy from us more than once. So brand's probably been about 10% role. And then we'd look at that, we'd go 50, 75, 85, the other 15% is, so we'll put it down as other, but it's the referral, the recommendation, the repeat, etc. Just understanding this is so useful, because now when we're thinking about, okay, how do we go from this to this, we can now look at it and we can say, okay, so what levers do we have to pull? If we're going to go from a £1 million business to a £2 million business, which of these primary channels, which all of their marketing, or the vast majority of this hypothetical business's marketing, but yours as well, will be able to be attributed to ads, email, brand, or referrer, we can look at that and say, well, if we want to go from 1 million to 2 million, what levers do we have to pull here? And do we need ads to still play the role of 50%? Or do we want to reduce our reliance on ads? Now, if a brand's wanting to grow and double in size over a couple of years, I would say that reliance on ads, this one here, is going to at least remain the same. If that's the case, we can say, okay, fine. So that means the ads, in this scenario, it contributed 500,000 worth of the revenue. But here, we need ads to contribute, it's going to be 1 million. So then we can look at that and say, okay, we need ads to contribute 1 million. This, because you could also, what I haven't done here is we'd put the revenue. So we'd go, that is 500K, Mr. Zero, we'd say this is circa 250. And again, we're not trying to be exact because that will be difficult, but we just want to get a sense of what's what. So this would be 100K and then this circa 150. That is actually pretty atypical of what I see quite regularly in terms of a breakdown. Highest single reliance on ads, whether within that you're going to have Google, YouTube, Meta, Pinterest, etc., but you get the idea. But now, crucially, when we're thinking about this, we can look at it and go, okay, well, if we know we're expected to have at least a 50% reliance on ads. We need email is going to need to play the role of 500,000. And we can start to break it down and we can start to better understand, okay, so we need our brand to grow and to get up to 200. And then we're going to need the other, that needs to contribute circa 300K. And so we can start to look at this and we can start to say, okay, now when we look at ads, we can start to break each of these down. And so we've got the overarching plan of okay, we want to go from 1 million to 2 million. Beyond that, we can start to say, okay, well, within ads, what are we doing and what aren't we doing and what should we be doing? And also, and then within email, and you can start to break it down and it just means you remove so much of the guesswork and it removes this, crystal ball, oh, we just want to grow from X to Y, but suddenly we just get that much more methodical in terms of our approach and we understand today where our sales are coming from and tomorrow where they need to come from. And then of course you can take this whole idea, this whole very simple concept, you can take this so much further because then if we look at ads where you're putting £1 in, and let's say in this scenario, to generate that 500K, which is 50% of our turnover, let's say you're putting in 100K, right? So we put 100K in, which means we're getting a ROAS on that scenario of 5, right? So we're getting a 5 times ROAS. So if we know that, then what we know here is, okay, if we're going to maintain the ROAS of 5, if that works for our business, then from an investment perspective, we now know in this scenario, we need to invest 200K. Similarly, you could do a similar sort of calculation with regards to email. Okay, what are we doing? Is it realistic to double our email revenue from 250 to 500K? You could then break that channel down and go, well, what is our average customer value? What is our LTV, our lifetime value from email? And we start to understand, okay, we're gonna have to increase our subscriber base from X amount to Y amount based on, or are we gonna look at, or are we gonna look at increasing the overall, the value from our email list and how much people spend and the frequency with which they buy and so on. And then of course you start to look at it and go, well, what are we gonna do with email? What else can we do with referral? And then it may be in this scenario that you start to break this down and go, well, do you know what? We're not gonna be able, it's not realistic to go from 150 to 300, which is, I would argue in this scenario might be the case. You might go, it's probably more likely we'll get to 2 or 250. Well, where's that extra 50 to 75K need to come from? Okay, we're probably gonna have an increasing reliance. And so whilst we're pushing to grow to 2 million, what we might need to do is accept that we might go up to a 55 or 60% reliance on ads in the shorter term. And then once we get to that level, then the focus will be on diluting our reliance down on a single channel. So it gets not complicated, but it gets a little bit more involved once you start to crunch the numbers. But as this very simple framework, hopefully this makes sense. And it just gives you a really easy way to just think, right, we've got our business, whatever it is, whether we're bricks and mortar, local business, e-commerce business. Now what we need to do is we need to understand what role does our brand play, what role do ads play, do email and other, because these are ads, let me just cover this off, but email and ads are the two biggest levers that most businesses, and this comes from a place of many years experience and understanding how businesses can grow and what they're actively doing. This is not hypothetical, this is what is actually happening in businesses that we're working with right now. And my friends, I can tell you this, it is all about email and ads. Most of you watching this, you will have well over half of your business will be reliant, if not 2/3 or beyond, will be reliant on these two channels. And once you understand the activity and what's going in, what in terms of pounds spent is going in here, and in terms of list size on email and the value off the back of that list size, you can then start to work out your overarching growth plan and trajectory. How realistic is it? And what are you going to need to invest in more here to make this stack up, and more here? It's a very simple idea, but it's one when done well and when thought about, means you can remove so much of the guesswork around how to grow your business, and you know what you need to invest in order to get back what you need to get back to have these play their respective parts to ultimately hit your revenue goals. That's BEAR in a nutshell. So it stands for brand, email, ads, and referral. I hope you found it useful. If you do have any questions, anything's not clear, or you need some clarity, if you'd like me to do another example, walking through a couple of more scenarios, let us know in the comments and we'll gladly follow up with more examples, because this is something we use and we talk about and we get every person that gets in touch with us to go through, and it is super useful and provides real clarity. So I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you on the next one. All the best. Take care.